Today I'm painting in Artrage on the iPad. Hi everyone, Steve Elliott here again. I am still working with my photos from my recent trip to St Ives. This photo is available as a download if you want to have a go at this painting. I put a link in the description below so you can just go and grab that. It's copyright free, so just feel free to make use of that. Anyway, this is going to be an oil painting. I like Artrage, and I'm using this because it's got this sort of thick brush strokes. It's not like thick like you would find in Corel Painter, but it still has got very physical three-dimensional brush strokes to it, and that's why I like it and use it now and again. I don't use it a lot. And I begin by putting a grey-blue background on here, and I use the roller to do that. And then I use one brush, which is the round oil brush, and I just use that throughout the whole painting, just changing the size. I don't even change the liquid in it, what do they call it? When you put, I don't know what I'm trying to say. When you thin it, I'm not put any thinners in it or anything like that. I've just used it straight out of the pack, if you like, just as it comes, and I've just changed the size of it. And I did the old painting with that. I have got an issue with Artrage at the minute. Every time I use it, I don't know if anybody else has had this problem, but every time I use it, I have to reinstall all the brush settings, paper settings, everything. It's all disappeared, and it's a bit of a pain. It's not difficult to do, but you have to do it for each brush individually and each setting. So I don't go in and reinstall everything. I just do it for the ones that I'm using at that time. And this has been a problem that I've had for a few months now, but every time I need to use it or want to use it, I have to reinstall the default brushes, which is a bit of a pain. Anyway, this painting I did pretty much on one layer as well. So it really was sort of back to the traditional after my last effort where I was messing around with technology and features within the app. This time I just worked it as a painting, and I'm just sort of getting colour over the whole of the painting, and it's all fairly loose, just getting in the shapes, getting in the beach, the shadows, the strong colour in the foreground to sort of bring that forward. That's what the orange is about there. The sort of bridge in the background. I'm just getting in all the local colour with sort of rough shapes pretty much to where I think they belong on that painting. And so it's almost a completed, very abstract and loose painting at this stage. Then once I'd finished this, at this stage, disaster struck, and you can see there, it's just disappeared now, that there was a recording icon in the middle of the painting. And basically I had a tea break after about an hour, made myself a cup of tea, came back, and Artrage had crashed, and I'd lost everything. It hadn't saved it. It didn't appear to have crashed. The painting was empty. There was nothing in it. I thought, oh my God, I don't want to have to go through all that again. I don't want to start again. I was really happy with how it was. So what I did, I loaded up the video which I recorded. Luckily enough, it had saved that. I went right to the very end, grabbed a screen dump of the painting, cropped it tight, reloaded it back into Artrage as a tracing, converted it to a painting layer, and then obviously it was really blurry and not up to standard. So then I overpainted, and what you can see now, I'm overpainting the initial blurry import that I brought back in after losing it. And at the same time, I'm adding detail to the putting windows in and things like that. And just making sure that the brush strokes are, back in there and not just this fuzzy blur. So it was a bit of an overpainting, but, I got over it quite well. So there's two things, to think about if you're using Artrage. It does prompt you to save, but it appears it doesn't do an auto save. I've probably got it switched off or something like that. So now I'm like paranoid. Every time that little save icon pops up, I click on save and pop it, make sure I've got a copy of it. There you can see the save icon there. So I quickly saved it before I continued. At this point, I was thinking that those arches on the bridge were too dark. They were just screaming out. So I knocked them back. I put the little highlight on there as well of the sun catching the edge of the wall of the arch. And I think that makes a massive difference to the look of those arches. It gives them real form and 3 dimensions. The colours that I used for this, I did actually sample a few. When I started, I was sampling them off the photo, just by holding the pen on the photo and it would choose the colour. And then I went in painting. But after a while, I was sort of adjusting colours, sampling colours off the painting itself, and then adjusting them on the colour wheel rather than using a palette. And I was going for this sort of light, soft look to the painting. I didn't want anything too heavy. I didn't want darks. I wanted sort of greyed off darks because of the bright sunlight. And I didn't want any real detail. I love the brush strokes in Artrage, and I wish that Artrage would introduce, not Artrage, if Procreate would introduce a similar brush or add that feature to their brushes. And the same with Art Studio Pro. If there was a brush that looked like this, I would be using those apps over this. But Artrage, there's nothing else on the iPad that I've found that can do this. It really does look like oil paint to a different level than you get in Procreate. But you can't make such large paintings in Artrage, so it's got its limitations quite often. This one I did the whole thing in on the iPad, and I was very happy with it. But quite often, if I do an iPad painting, I then take it onto the PC desktop version of Artrage and finish it in there. But this one, I was really happy with as it was. So it has got limitations compared to Procreate and Art Studio Pro. It's just, you can't work on images at that same sort of size. And it's not that you could sort of enlarge them or anything. It's just that you can't get the definition in there that you can get with other apps, where you can have much bigger canvases to work on and zoom in and put fine detail in. Not that fine detail is usually an issue with me, because it's not. I'm now putting in some of the smaller boats, and I decided to put a few people in there. I didn't want a beach cluttered with holiday makers. I thought that's not my idea of what a nice scene would be. When you look at a photo, it's yours for a few seconds. That scene is yours and it's private to you, and you don't want it cluttered with hundreds of other people cramming on that beach, which is yours. I know I always put people in paintings and things to add a story, if you like, but I think there's a limit, and especially on a beach. If it was a town scene, I would, put a lot of people in, but I felt this needed just a few people, and way off in the distance, say you've got a feeling of seclusion and this is your little bit of the beach. So when I come to put the people in, which appears I'm not doing yet, I'm working on the foreground, I put them in as really tiny little abstract shapes. I'm just putting 2 more boats in, and then I think once I get these boats in, I start working on the people. But I think you need to think about stuff like that when you're painting. Don't just go in there and copy that scene exactly. There's a lot of things to think about. Here we are. I'm putting a few people in, and I keep them pretty much to the top left. And you know, they're not people, are they? They're just little marks of paint. But they are people, and I just wanted a few in there so the beach wasn't deserted, but it still kept that kind of emptiness at the same time as having those people in. So that's what I was thinking about with that. I really like this painting. I had a lot of fun doing it. I've been on a bit of I've had a bit of a mental block the last couple of days, and this sort of got me going again and motivated. So that is it. That is my painting of boats on the beach at St Ives. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. Helps me out a lot. I can't stress that enough. And if you're new to the channel and you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.